Let's see if I can see anything in cylinder 2. Welcome back to Living with a Classic, another episode of Daily Driving Classic Weekly, where I tried to daily drive this 1975 Jaguar XJ6. Today, as of filming this, marks a year that this car has been back on the road. When I bought it, it wasn't on the road, it was off the road. It had a blown head gasket and a few other issues. Sorted those out during the winter, not this winter, but last winter, of course. Fixed those things, and a year ago today, got it back on the road. And since then, for a year, I've tried to daily drive this car. Hasn't been without incident. There's been a lot of entertainment for you guys. The head gasket blew once again, and took it apart, put it back together again, and it held up pretty well. It held up all through winter. If you follow along the channel, you saw this thing battle the snow and the cold here in Sweden. It did very, very well. If you want to see any of the previous videos from all of this, I'll put links to playlists down below if you want to check those out. And then I noticed that it was using coolant again sometime in the new year. I think it was February, sometime around then. And I retorqued the head again. It's been good since then. And then I put this new interior in, which I absolutely love. Now this thing is so comfortable to drive. However, one thing has happened. During the last couple of days, I've been using this car quite a bit. In the last 2 days, I have noticed a little bit of a misfire again, and it sort of feels the same as it did before when it was using coolant. So I thought we'd have a look at it, see what is going on. I haven't looked yet. I just gone for a drive. I just came back home, and it drives fine at high RPMs. I was out on the highway, everything was fine. But what happens is once you come to a stop sign or stoplight, you feel it misfiring. It feels like it's not always firing on one of the cylinders. And then, but once you pull away, everything is fine. So we'll pull out the plugs, have a look at that, see if we can see what's going on. Hopefully it's not an issue again with the engine. Hopefully it's just a foul plug or something. But I have a feeling that this could be pretty bad news. But let's find out. As you saw from that little clip, I spun the engine around with all the plugs out, and something definitely shot out of a rear cylinder here. The reason I tried that is I took all the plugs out. They look pretty much the same except this one, which is cylinder number 3, has a slight yellowish deposit on it. Not really sure what that is. The other ones have a slight reddish deposit, and that's fine. That is because I have been running an additive that removes water from fuel, just because it was winter, and yeah, you should do that in winter. It's probably some of that left in the tank. However, this isn't great. Maybe the head gasket issue is back. Otherwise, they all look even. They don't look like any of them is running rich or something. So I'm going to put all these back in. Let's go for a drive. We'll let the car sit for a bit. I'll then remove the rear plugs after it's sat for a while, spin it over again. Let's see if we get the same result again of something shooting out. It's all back together and it's running now. Still pretty warm because I forgot to mention before, when I took the plugs out, I just spun for about a 30-kilometer drive, so it was definitely up to temperature, and this means probably gone down a little bit. Now it is pretty much bang up to temperature. So I will go for a little bit of a drive now, come back, take those rear plugs out, let it sit for a little bit, and spin it over and see if we have something squirted out. Definitely seems like it was coolant, but to make sure it wasn't fuel, I will put a little bit of rag over next time so I can smell it and see if it's coolant or fuel. But fingers crossed it's a carb issue instead of a head gasket issue. I did notice one thing before I left. I mean, this thing's been for long drives and it is really warm outside. It's maybe like 15, 16 degrees. So that is definitely a bit of a misfire and a bit of a condensation out the back. Anyways, I'll go for a drive. Let's see what happens. I'm back from a little drive. Didn't go that far since it was already warmed up, but I did push it quite a bit. I'm usually very sympathetic with any classic car. I've never really revved this thing about 3,000 RPM, but I locked in second gear and I kind of pushed it just to, because if it's gonna fail, I'd rather have it fail now than if I am far away from home. But let's see how it's running. Slight misfire there again. Now, it's definitely not running perfectly clean. And we got some smoke there. That's new. Bunch of oil there. Something pushing out oil from the dipstick. Not really sure. Alright, but let's turn this thing off and see what happens in about 10 minutes or so. So about 10 minutes later, I pulled the plug from cylinder 3, which had the yellow deposit on it. That's the one I think has some coolant in it. I've hooked up my little Borescope here to my computer. Let's see if we can see anything inside there. Oh, it's hard to see on the screen here because of the sun if I'm actually seeing anything at all. But let's try and change the contrast a little bit. Okay, I'm actually not sure if I'm seeing anything. I'll have to review this footage later. But let's take that out. The only thing I did notice is there is some condensation on it. But let's disconnect the ignition, crank it over, see if anything comes out of that plug hole. All right, time to crank it over. Let's see if we can see anything. Okay, nothing came out of that one. Let's remove a few more plugs and see what's going on. 2 more plugs out. Let's try it again. I definitely saw something there. So it's probably cylinder 2. Let's have a look inside that one with some Borescope. Let's see if I can see anything in cylinder 2. Okay, let's see. Got top of the piston there. And once again, it's hard to see out here, but it looks like the sides of the pistons are really, really clean and pretty much shiny over there. So I'll have to review the footage inside, but that does look very much like it's steamed clean. It's a couple days later, and I have time to review that footage now. I was unable to see anything from the endoscope out here in the sun on the computer screen, but inside I can see that there is definitely water in cylinder 2. So I thought long and hard about all of this, and I'm going to do what I should have done a long time ago. I'm going to take this thing off the road now for a while, even though I absolutely do love driving it. I mean, I could probably try and over torque the head like some people suggested, and it might hold again for a week or so, but definitely there is something wrong with that block. And just to emphasize here, just so I don't get a million comments down below, the head has been often checked. It's checked for cracks, it's checked for trueness, it's been skimmed, nothing wrong with that. Studs are new, gaskets new, everything else. Block has been checked and is perfectly straight. However, it has not been checked for cracks. It's very, very expensive to check a large block like that. Where I live for cracks, and it's not really financially viable having to take the whole thing apart. It's better to find another engine, because I believe that there is an issue somewhere deep in that block, or something is causing the tension around cylinder 2 to not tighten. Maybe it's a liner that is dropped, but I can't see that when I have it apart. I've measured everything, but there's definitely something going on there. But I promise I am not giving up on this car. However, I will need to take it off the road for a bit and save up some money to get another engine. I am going to go and have a look at a couple engines. There are 2 of them at least are in cars, which means I could probably start them up and hear them run. They're in cars that are probably not going to be restored, and but the engine should be fine. So that's really what I'm looking for. I'm not looking to do a major engine rebuild or something at the moment. We got that going with the S-Type and other things. Doesn't have to be a perfect engine. I just want a decent, reliable engine, and I think some of those should be fine. However, I do still need to save up some money for that. So here is the plan. This thing is going off the road. I'm just going to clean it off a bit and I'll put it into storage. I will bring it fully off the road. I may drain out the coolant and then I'll blow out the cylinders and I'll put WD-40 in them just so they don't rust solid, so I can start this thing up and move it in case I need to, just so it doesn't seize up solid with coolant going into that cylinder. Otherwise, I think I'm going to take the wheels and tires off this car for now, and I can put those on the XJ12, Series XJ12. I was about to order new tires for that. I do want to drive that this summer, and I don't know how long it will take for me to get a hold of an engine and also save up the money for an engine. So this thing will probably not be on the road on the channel here for a couple of months at least, while I get all that going. I also have some other things I'm working on. Like I mentioned, I do some work now on customer cars, and so that is prioritized a bit, also because I want to finish their cars, and also that will bring in some more money for the channel to be able to fund the engine swap here. I will be putting in the same type of engine I took out. It will be a 4.2 XK engine, not doing any crazy engine swaps or anything. So it will be some type of 4.2 engine, and hopefully I will find a good one. But yeah, a little bit of sad news after 1 year of daily driving this this car, but those sort of things happened, and I started to think more and more that when this car did lose all its coolant when it was driven to my house by the previous owner, I believe it was already leaking a little bit before, and it had a low amount of coolant because it blew a hose. If you don't remember, it blew a hose pretty much almost by my house, but the previous owner did say that it was running a little hot, and when I filled it up, I could almost fill up the whole coolant system before. And even if it blew a top radiator, or no, a top coolant hose, it wouldn't, dump all the coolant in the world out. So I think it had a slight leak before, or some type of issue. It was low on coolant. That's why it really overheated, and that's why that happened. That was before I owned the car, so it's really out of my control. So I think the damage has really been done to this engine, and there's no point in doing anything with it. Anyways, this became just a really, really long rant, but I just want to say, everything on my mind. So just to minimize the amount of confusion down in the comment section, just to say that. Anyways, I hope that you guys have liked following along this adventure for a year. It doesn't mean I will stop with videos. I will be driving other cars on the channel. We have lots of other jacks going on. And this probably means that I will, give the XJ40 another shot of coming out. I do want to fix a few cosmetic things on that as well. But I think in the meantime, both my wife and I are working from home. We don't drive very much. So I've got the Range Rover, and that thing is running really well. Has nice, cool AC as well. So that is a nice car to drive. So then I will have a small little break from driving the classics for a while, but I will be working on them, and there will be lots of videos coming here in the channel now in the spring and summer. Anyways, if you like this video, please give a thumbs up, share it with your friends. If you're not already subscribed to the channel, please do subscribe to the channel. It really does help out a lot. Anyways, until next time, I'm Adam, and this was Living with a Classic. I'll see you soon.